back to the channel. If you're new, thank you for stopping by. Today, we are going to take the most basic fundamentals of heavy metal guitar. I'm going to show you some easy, simple ways to expand on them. Now, a couple of reasons why I wanted to make this video for you. Number one, you may just love the sound and just the feel of playing classic heavy metal guitar, and that's pretty cool. But if you want to expand and play other subgenres of metal, well, nailing down these styles and expanding on them, like I'm going to show you how to do in this video, that is going to allow you to play pretty much any subgenre of metal, no matter how extreme. Why? Because in every subgenre of metal, and even any subgenre of rock, they all kind of hang on this foundation, these basic principles that we're going to cover in this video. Oh, and also hang around to the end of the video. We're going to have a little bit of tone talk as well. The basic power chord. I would venture to say that the power chord is the first block of the foundation of classic heavy metal music. And again, every subgenre of metal uses power chords, or at least some version of power chords. And that's what I want to talk to you about and show you some examples on how you can expand on something that's so simple, right? So you guys know what a power chord is. And if you don't, I have a metal guitar for beginners video. I'll put a link to that video in the description of this video here. So do check that out if you're starting out and you're not sure what a power chord is, okay? So the power chord, we know, consists of two notes. I've got fretted here the G power chord. You can see that. I'm in standard tuning, by the way, on this good old telly. I'm on the 3rd fret, 5th fret. That's my G power chord. What I like to do, and you guys have heard me say this in countless videos and lessons on my channel, but I like to change that second note of the power chord. Watch what happens, or hear rather as well, what happens when we change that note. So I think I played 1, 2, 3 power chords there, but we got all kinds of cool sounds, cool textures, as I like to call them, because, you know, this is art. I mean, we're painting this canvas type thing here on our fretboard. You don't want to paint your fretboard, I don't think, but you know what I'm talking about. So you just get all these cool textures and things like that, simple things, just by playing around, by changing the second note of that power chord. Man, that can take your song. If you're writing a song, and I encourage all you guys to write your own riffs, that can take your riff to a completely new level, give it an entirely new meaning, and it's a great thing to do when you feel stuck. It's like, okay, well, I feel like I'm playing all these power chords, but everything I write's just sounded the same, right? Again, just change the second note of that power chord and play around with that. See where that takes you. Now, if power chords is that big brick right here that's part of the foundation, I would say palm muting is the brick right beside it. Palm muting, in my opinion, is what defines heavy metal. And again, all subgenres use palm muting, some more than others, but in some form they use palm muting. So again, this is one of those techniques that once you get this down, you can play any subgenre of metal or rock for that matter, okay? So how we can make palm muting a little extra special, we're gonna sprinkle some hot sauce on the palm mute here. So what I like to do is not think of palm muting with just power chords, right? Or even open strings. Like a lot of times we'll play the open string. Okay, we'll palm mute that open string. Now you notice the riff I was playing just a minute ago, I didn't start that on open string. I was actually playing the F sharp. Something like that, but I want us to take it a step further. I want us to also think about palm muting single notes, which we're going to get a little bit into that next. But instead of always palm muting the power chord, which is fine, it's perfectly cool to do that because that's a cool sound, right? But what if we palm muted some of the single notes as well? Listen to this. So right there's two different ways that you can use palm muting other than just palm muting a power chord or an open string. You can palm mute the single note riffs, but you also heard me back off a little bit. I didn't palm mute every single note, and that's one of those things to think about as you're writing your own riffs. Like, okay, well, I want to palm mute some single notes, but remember, you don't necessarily have to palm mute all the single notes, or you may want to. Either way is okay. I just want to give you some things to think about. Now we sort of already covered this when we talked about palm muting. I was playing a bunch of single note riffs, okay? But I have to bring that up because it is a culprit of classic heavy metal music. Really any subgenre of metal, and I would even say most genres of rock and roll music as well, whether it's hard rock or classic rock or whatever. The one thing that you'll notice if people ask you as a guitar player to play a song, the one thing you might notice is they're probably not asking you to play the entire song. Maybe they are, but what they're thinking about is that main guitar riff. When they're asking you, hey, can you play the song? They really mean, can you play that one memorable riff or maybe two memorable riffs that are in that song? That's what they want to know, because that's the thing that captures us. And all a riff was just a melody. I mean, they're mainly single note patterns. I mean, you can throw power chords in there as well, mix and match it all together, right? But mainly, I'm just going to make up something. It's just like a single note melody. And I'm just goofing off here, guys. I'm just making stuff up. I might go back and listen to that again. That was kind of pretty cool. But anyway, it's just forming a melody on your guitar. So what I recommend doing, especially if you're semi-new at writing your own riffs, sometimes just start with an open string and just play around with those frets. Like, it doesn't have to make sense, doesn't have to really be anything, but you got an open E string, for example. Again, just making up stuff, right? Just play around with the frets, and then one thing will ultimately lead to another. You'll start coming up with some cool stuff. anything, right? Again, it doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to sound pretty. Just play around. I think a big part of guitar is just getting your fingers to move, right? Not being afraid, kind of approaching it, especially songwriting. Even if you're a seasoned player, when we sit down to write our own riffs, we want to write a new song. Sometimes we're afraid to play something that might sound bad, even if it's just us sitting in the room, right? So just break away from that mentality and just play whatever you want. It might sound like garbage at first. That's okay. Allow that to lead to something else. Just make some noise and you'll eventually come up with something pretty cool, right? So again, just give yourself that freedom. It's time for some tone talk, and I'm going to share the exact settings that I use for this video, specifically for the full mix that you heard at the beginning of this video, which I'll end the video with that full mix as well. So that's coming up shortly, but I just want to briefly go over the settings. Before we do that, I must give a huge shout out to the sponsor of this video and a tremendous thank you to the folks at Blackstar Amplification. So what I'm showcasing here, and this is what I used for this video and for the full mix you heard and that you're going to hear again, the Blackstar HT-5 RH MK III desktop amplifier. You see it literally sitting on my desktop right now. So yeah, I use this amp for recording. Now I've got a link to the product in the description of this video. I do get rewarded if you guys decide to purchase, so that does help the channel and I truly appreciate that. I'll also link to the video where I go over this amplifier in detail and show you how to use it and how to record with it, and also just play silently with it. You can do that as well. So I'll have those links in the description here. So let's head over to the EQ. I'll go through this briefly with you, and you can see already there's really nothing special about my EQ, and this is practically the same EQ I use across the board on all of my rhythm tracks, regardless of what subgenre I'm playing, even rock. I mean, sometimes if I'm going more for a rock style, I will bump the mids up a little bit, but you can see in this case the bass is straight up and down. Whenever you're recording in the mix, I've always found that the bass, it doesn't really need to be boosted because sometimes that can make for a little bit muddy mix. I've got my mids cut just a little bit, you know, the classic mid cut. Now, some metal players like to boost their mids, and that's okay too. There's no right or wrong answer. My treble is boosted just a little there, and you can see the gain on the amplifier. I don't even have the gain cranked all the way up. You can crank it up. This is a 5-watt amplifier, by the way, the Blackstar HT-5 RH. You can crank the gain all the way up, but I've got it at about 7 here. That just gave me a really, I don't know, just a nice rhythm tone. Now, when I played the solo in the full mix, again, I'm going to play that shortly. When I played the solo for that, I did use an overdrive pedal in front of the amplifier. So guys, I hope this video helped you. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to play that full mix for you as we end out here. Guys, thank you so much. Keep it metal and keep playing music.